Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babbling Irons match preview with myself and Sloth today. Off the back of our biggest win of the season so far, 2-1 win away at Spurs. It was a complete change from the first half to the second half, but we got the 3 points, and now we look ahead to Fulham. And it's a quick changeover. December, we've got a lot of fixtures coming up, but going into this one, Sloth, Fulham just beat Forest 5-0. They obviously nearly beat Liverpool at Anfield after conceding two late goals. Before that, they beat Wolves at home 3-2. So they're scoring a lot of goals, but they're still conceding a lot of goals. How do you kind of anticipate this one going? Because it's quite an interesting one. We've obviously had the turnover from Spurs. We obviously put a lot into that game. How does Moyes then motivate the players to go and do it again against Fulham, who's, it's not a bigger London derby, but it is still a London derby?
I don't think there's much motivation needed. You've got to basically say to them, look, we've got to capitalise on that, keep the momentum going, and we've got we've got a tough month ahead of us. We've got to really just make sure we hit it hard. And look, you don't change your winning team too much. I do think it's going to be key to rotate players in. I don't know how many times we've said that on this channel, but obviously Moyes came out with a quote today about the bench need to challenge and push for that. I kind of don't really know what else you need to do if you're Maxwell Cornet in this.
Not even on the bench.
If you've literally just got an assist, like why is Fornals coming on against Spurs ahead of you? But anyway, I digress. I think, it's just about keeping the momentum going. It is another London derby, as you say. I think our midfield's going to be bang up for it. That for me is probably the key battle in this game, because both defenses leak quite a lot of goals, and the both attacks score goals, and we're much better off than we were last season. But we need to really start making sure we're taking those steps, because technically, when you look at it, Rice aside, we have got a stronger starting 11. So I think it's really a chance for this starting 11 to stake a claim. And if you're Alvarez and Souček, you're thinking, well, I'm going to go and show them why we didn't need Paulina in the summer. Whether or not anyone disagrees with that, I think he's a quality midfielder, but this is their chance to basically say, this is why I'm here and this is why I'm starting. This is why you didn't pay 60 million for him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the players look going into it. Like you say, you shouldn't need any motivation. But, they did put a lot of effort into that Spurs game, but it should be now the catalyst, because we're 3 points off fifth. We're in a really good position going into mid-December now. So if we can go to Fulham and get the 3 points, we'll be in such a strong position. We really will. So, yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, they're in 12th, 6 points behind us. We're currently in 9th on 24 points. But our head-to-head against Fulham's actually pretty good. I know you don't want to base it off this because teams change, etc. Things happen, but I think we're unbeaten in 9 games against them in all competitions. So a pretty good streak. I remember last year we absolutely shit-assed a 1-0 win against them, playing that 4-4-2. Do you expect our approach to be similar to the Spurs game? Because obviously Fulham are a team that like to have possession, like to build out from the back. They're obviously playing at home in such good confidence after that 5-0 win against Forest. Is it a kind of case of, okay, we need to approach it like the second half of the Spurs game, not sit back too much, but press with intensity, but also be a bit compact when we don't have the ball, because it's likely Fulham will have a lot more possession than us on the day?
No, I think that's pretty spot on. We know that they're a big physical side. You look at the likes of Bassi and Tosin at the back, and then obviously Palino in the middle. But even Iwobi, the players like that they are big physical players who are quite quick as well and agile. Maybe not so much Palino in the agility stakes, but even someone like Jimenez up top, he has quite a good record against us for Wolves in the past. Obviously, last couple of seasons mitigate that, but I'm not reading too much into them, because he does finally look like
scored a great goal against Forest.
Yeah, exactly. And he is historically the sort of striker we just don't like playing against. I'm kind of hoping that Zuma will just bully him. And if anyone's capable of it, it's Zuma. So I think the pace and the physicality that Fulham have at the moment, that will be the key in us in the approach. And I do think we might just sit back a little bit, see
Yeah,
how they how vulnerable they are on the counter, because we know that with the likes of Bone and Kudus, we can get in behind them. And Kudus was fantastic against
outstanding.
yeah, he
Yeah,
was fantastic against Tottenham, and just his work rate, but also body strength and ability to carry the ball, just
yeah.
ease the pressure, particularly in that second half when he was on the ball or he just won it back, just knowing to knock it into space and create time for himself and the team around him. I
What do
think it will
you?
be.
Yeah, I
I
was going
think
to
it will
say,
be.
what do you think is the best approach for this game? Would you, we obviously had to make a change with Areola coming out for Fabianski in the last game. Would you stick with the same 11 that beat Spurs and kind of say, look, you guys did the business, it was a really good performance in the second half? Or would you be looking to freshen things up with such a quick turnover and with, so many games coming up now through December?
I think you stick with a winning team. The only part of that I kind of question is just Areola.
Yeah.
Because for me, Fabianski, he punched really well at times, but his kicking was diabolical. He made a couple of good saves, but I might get roasted for this. But if I'm being honest, I don't think he was outstanding in any way.
I think he was solid. I think he did well.
Yeah, I'm not saying he was bad. I'm not trying to be critical of anything other than his kicking, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think for me, you can't.
So
You
Areola
can't.
comes in for you if he's fit.
Yeah, you can't look at that performance and say, well, the other keeper deserves to be dropped. I think you keep the system of Areola is the league keeper and Fabianski is the cup keeper. I think that's the best way forward.
Yeah. Would you be tempted
And
to, if we're looking at the midfield as well? Obviously, Paqueta looked pretty off it in the first half, but second half put absolutely everything into it and was obviously playing out on the left-hand side again. We then had Bowen go up front after about the first 20 minutes of the game where he was playing on the right, and then Kudus came to the right. So would you be tempted to bring Paqueta into the midfield, or do we just have to stick with what we've got at the moment?
personally, for me, I keep saying this, and it doesn't matter because it's. But I wouldn't risk it. If there's any doubt over the fitness, we've got a big month coming up, and I'd much rather look if we can pick up points here, fantastic. But I'd much rather he be fully fit for this period as opposed to risking him picking up a knock and potentially suffering in the long run.
Yeah.
So I would be saying to him, look, you're going to be on the bench, and we'll see how the game goes. If after 60 minutes we're 1-0 down, or it's 0-0, or whatever it may be, we'll bring you on because you can prove why you should be in the side and starting. But I do kind of question the risk, the risk factor here, because we do know
Yeah.
he was carrying a knock. It's not just me, hypothetically speaking. And I do think when you look at players like Bowen as well, again, just having come back from a spell off, I would start Bowen, obviously, but just don't be afraid to make the change. If you're talking about utilizing the subs bench and how the subs have to perform and put the starters under pressure, then you kind of need to give them the chance to do that as well. You can't just rely on
Who,
training to
yeah.
do that.
Who would you bring
Because
in then? Who would you bring in if you wanted to put him onto the bench?
I mean, personally, I would probably um, I'd probably actually put a winger out there, and
Yeah.
I would maybe say to Ben Rama that this is your chance, but even then,
I just don't think we can afford to not play him. Like, if he's injured, yeah, we shouldn't play him. But I think if he's like a fit and available to play, I don't think we can afford to drop someone like that in the team at the moment.
100% if he's fit, but from my understanding, he's got a knock,
Yeah.
and I know that might be a bit cautious. It's overly cautious. But why risk it?
Yeah, if he's got a knock, I wouldn't play him either. And then obviously we've got the Europa League, which we've already qualified from. I know we want to top the group, but home to Freiburg on Thursday night, we should be able to rotate there a little bit as well before the Premier League match on the next Sunday. So yeah, I would like to see him move into the middle. It's just how do we fit into this kind of system? Because I think we could probably afford in this match to take out someone like Suchek, or even it's just so hard to drop Ward-Prowse because he did really well. And I think
I wouldn't
Suchek,
drop Suchek. I wouldn't drop
yeah,
Suchek
I
against
think
Pellegrini.
yeah, I think I would like to see that. I would like to see Paqueta come into midfield instead of Suchek for this match, where we're going to be able, there's going to be more spaces against Fulham. They are quite open when they're in transition, and I think someone like it's just then who do you put left wing because Ben Rama's just not been on it. Fornals hasn't had the minutes, and he's not a natural winger. And then Cornet's not going to get a game, so it's just like we keep saying the same thing in every preview, but. Yeah, I think I think Moyes will go with the same 11 if he can, if there's no injuries or anything. And yeah, like you say, the only change maybe would be Areola in for Fabianski. Um, if that is the case, are you still confident in us getting a result at Fulham? How are you feeling going into this match? Because like we mentioned, they're in pretty good form. They've won 3 of their last 5 home games. The only losses were against United and Chelsea, so they're actually in pretty good form, and it's going to be a tough game for us.
I think it's the battle of the leaky defences, isn't it? Really, it's a tough one because when you're up against a player who is so naturally gifted in the air like Jimenez, then when you put him up against a Guerd who has been much better in recent weeks, but the biggest weakness in his game is his aerial ability, which is kind of baffling to me because he's got a great leap. He is very strong, and he is good in the air at the other end. So why he can't transition that into being able to read a ball in or pick up a man, I don't understand. And against Jimenez, that is a very dangerous thing to be poor at. So for me, I would just stick Zuma on him all game. And I think in terms of the pace and physicality, it's just Bowen should have him nipped for pace. He might get bullied a little bit, but he should be able to get stuck in and hold his own. Would I put Paqueta in the middle? Personally, I would only do so if he is fully fit. Otherwise, I'd just go with the same system. But we know Cornet's not going to get a chance. I would like to see him on that left side. I would like to see what he can do, particularly against a side like Fulham, where they are, leaking goals. Give him a chance.
Against Castagna as well out of that side, which is, you'd like to see him get at someone like Castagna.
Exactly. And I think, not that we don't have anything to lose, but, we've got a bit of a points gap now between Chelsea below us. So you can utilise that and at least rest players. There may be doubts over, but give the player a chance to at least either boost his value if you're going to sell him, or chance to perform. And a front 3 of Bowen, Kudus and Cornet is going to cause problems.
It's electric, isn't it? There's a lot of pace. There's a lot of things you can interchange between them. There's a lot of rotation there. And obviously, having Cornet out on the left gives you a bit more of an outlet than, Paqueta, because what we saw on Spurs against Thursday, it was more Emerson kind of doing a lot of the attacking work, overlapping, but then he was also really good defensively. And the same with Kufau on the other side with Kudus. We were really good at doubling up on the counters. So it's going to be a lot, it's going to be a lot to ask of both fullbacks again. And if you bring in someone like Cornet as well, it's going to help Emerson more from a defensive point of view than say Paqueta, because he's going to be tired. We know, like we saw against Spurs, he was he was much better in the second half, but first half it just wasn't tracking back at all. And you bring someone like Cornet in, he will work hard, especially considering the circumstances. So I don't know. I think Moyes will stay the same. I would like to see Paqueta come in the middle and someone like Cornet out on the left, but I don't see that happening. Considering that, Sloth, what are you thinking for a score prediction going into this one? Because again, I've said it before, but it's a tough game, this one.
I think it might be a 3-2. I'm going to go 3-2 to us, but I I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if they win 3-2 or something. It's as I said, it's the
Yeah.
battle of the leaky defenses.
Yeah, I think again, I can just never predict us to keep a clean sheet. I don't think I ever will this season. But I think, yeah, I think it's going to be 2-1 either side. I'll go with West Ham to edge it. I think we've got enough quality to score a couple of goals against Fulham. But equally, they've got some good quality and they're in really good form. So we're going to have to be very switched on defensively because they got some good rotation themselves. You know, Pereira, Awobi, you know, Jimenez as well is firing. So yeah, it's going to be a tough game, but one I'm quite looking forward to. Quite looking forward, forward to seeing how we set up against them and what approach we take, and whether Moyes says like this should be the blueprint now. We need to press higher on teams, impose ourselves a little bit more rather than being a little bit more protective of what we've got. So yeah, let us know in the comments what you think. Are you confident going into this one? Obviously, 3 points off fifth, so a win could take us as well. I don't know what the goal difference is, but on par with the kind of Champions League, Europa League battle as we continue into December. So yeah, let us know in the comments. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are new around here. And Sloth, until next time.
Come on, you
You
eyes.
are.